Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to It's Naturally Not.
Garage edition.
Garage edition. You might notice this is a slightly different background here. That is because I am doing today's loud video out in the garage. And why am I doing it out in the garage? Because my friend who I live with has to take a quick nap before work. And we're working with a loud appliance. This is an old school blender that your grandma might have. You can use any blender to do this, but I like this blender, this old school one. A friend of mine who's a small engine mechanic said that these will last you forever, and a very expensive foodie one today, unless you want to pay a lot of money, won't, because these are a little old engine in them. What I'm making today is something called cold pack. Cold pack, I'm probably leaving out a word when no, cold cheese pack. And cold cheese pack is when you go to the grocery store or to a dairy and you buy cheese. They used to be in crocks. I think I might have said something before about going to Hickory Farms in the mall. If you can remember back in the day at Christmas time, they would have cheese in crocks. That was cold pack cheese. As times changed and Rosie, I'm doing this in the garage so I gotta keep an eye on my dog. Rosie, come here. As times changed, they stopped doing those in crocks, and you can get cold packed cheese in plastic. Plastic's not so good for you, right? So we're going to learn how to make cold packed cheese that tastes 5,000 times better than even that good name brand cheese back that you could get at the mall at the holidays. Cold packed cheese, Wisconsin cold packed cheese is also a name it's known by. You're going to need a few things. I'm going to have you look at my recipe for a minute in my own handwriting. If you want to take the time to take your phone out, take a little snap, a little picture, or even remember where this is at, looking at the bottom of your time stamp in YouTube, you can go ahead and write this down because I might forget to include the recipe. But what this calls for is 8 ounces of a block of cheddar cheese. Again, you don't want to use the shredded kind that has cellulose in it. That's going to affect the quality of your dish. You don't want that. And get a sharp grater. I've already done all the hard work. I've grated the whole beautiful sharp cheese. Don't you buy anything super fancy. You can even buy your grocery store's house brand, and that's absolutely fine. But grate it yourself. What else? So I also have in here is a 1/4 of a teaspoon of kosher salt, 2 teaspoons of Dijon mustard. You want Dijon mustard, not dry mustard. You need that little bit of moisture. 1 to 2 ounces of cream cheese, and that's optional. Okay, this is my own recipe. Rose, stick around here. And this is my own recipe, and I found that adding that is a good idea for moisture. I know you're going to help me. Where's your apron? Some other things in here is you want a clove of garlic. You can use the pre-prepared kind. I think using fresh is best. I use 2 because I like extra garlic. And then here's the thing you're not going to expect: 2 strange ingredients that go into this. Beer. You're going to want to use cheap beer and light beer. Now let me talk about that for a minute. If you want to use, and a friend of mine over the holidays said, why can't I use like a really nice, my favorite expensive IPA? And there's a couple reasons for that. Number one, the beer doesn't offer, the beer is not the star of the show. The cheese is, and the spices are the stars of the show. The beer does 1 and 2 things. It gives a loft, so there's a scientific reason why we have the beer in here. And it gives just a tiny bit of carbonation and a tiny bit of flavor. I wouldn't use anything else. I wouldn't use seltzer water. I would use cheap beer. Okay? So that's what I got. I got cheap beer here. Light beer is best because it's subtle. I think that's everything. The shredded cheddar, the garlic. The cayenne adds a little weird heat. Now, I like to use Watkins cayenne. I think it's a very interesting heat because it's not hot. It's warm and strangely undetectable, but you know something's at work.
So the cayenne was the second weird ingredient.
Yep. Yeah. And it's really good because people can't quite figure out what's going on. So what I did is I put absolutely everything but the beer in here. And what I'm going to do, now the amount of beer that you're going to want to use is probably not any more than 2/3 of a cup, right? And your typical can of beer is 12 fluid ounces. So you don't want more than 2/3 of a liquid measurement of a cup, but I do it by eyeball. So I'm going to go ahead You can bring that on over here. We can see what's going on. I'm kind of guesstimating. Okay. Let that kind of soak in to the bottom. Now, here's the thing. Here's the only thing you're going to not like if you're not a patient person. I'm a teacher, so I know how to be aggravated and just keep plugging through, because that's what we do when we teach. You're going to have to blend this about 1,000,000 times. I'm just kidding, but you're going to have to do many pulses like what I'm going to show you. You can go ahead and put it on a high setting. A high, like here. Now, this is an old school blender, so you won't have these same options on here. But a medium high, not low, somewhere around the top. You're going to go ahead, put it on. So that was about a 10-second pulse. And then what you're going to go do, and you can kind of see a little bit, I can feel it with my spatula. There's the beer, there's some of the cream cheese, and a lot of the seasonings are on there. I'm just going to go ahead. This, I have noticed, this is just a little bit thin, which is fine. I'd like it a little bit drier. I might have added a little too much beer, but that's okay. At this point, you could add more cheese, or you could just keep pulsing it. And by pulsing, I mean you're going to want to turn it on. This is going really faster than I thought. It's getting this kind of, right? What I'm going to do, this will be anywhere from, you want to do those pulses I did. They're not really even pulses there. And you could probably do this in a food processor, but I like a blender better. You're going to do this anywhere from 10 to 60 times until you get the type of smooth cheese spreadable texture that you want. You'll know what it is. If you've ever bought those little glass jars, they don't hold much, maybe 4 ounces of cheese at the grocery store. Every grocery store sells them, right? You know what kind I'm talking about. They come in Old English, a blue cheese one with pineapple or something weird like that. That smooth cheddar texture. Now, if you do this and it's too loose, you don't like it, just add more shredded cheddar to it. I'm going to see you when I'm done pulsing with this. So hold on. I'm going to be back in about, it's probably going to take me 15 minutes. All right. I am back with the homemade cold packed cheese after 1,000,000 scrapings. And I was even scraping it down and pushing the power on, you know, to whirl it around to process the cheese. Finally, it came to where I wanted it, and I put it in this super cute crock that I got with my friend Shelly at an antique store. And this is kind of reminiscent of how the cheese used to come back in the old days, right? When we would go to the mall and go to Hickory Farm. So I went ahead, and you don't have to keep it in one of these super cute things, although getting it open can be kind of a pain. There we go. I packed it full, and there we have the cheese. And you'll see it's just like that. See how smooth it is?
Very creamy.
That's why you want to let it go and keep scraping, and you get this fabulous consistency.
Well, and weren't you worried that you'd added too much beer?
I was worried about it, but you know what? Always err on not enough beer. So
because you can always add more.
You can always add more. I ended up having 2/3 of a can of beer left. Okay. But see how absolutely smooth that is? There's no, you can't even tell that there was freshly grated cheese in there. And now we will give it over to Daniel to try.
It's so good.
I know, I'm going to have one too, because it is that good. You will never pay $50 or whatever they charge online, $50, $75 for this cheese. Don't get this stuff at the store. This is so good. So, have a great day wherever you're at, night, evening, whatever it is. And I will see you next time. All right, I am back with the homemade cold packed cheese after 1,000,000 scrapings. And I was even scraping it down and pushing the power on, you know, to whirl it around to process the cheese. Finally, it came to where I wanted it, and I put it in this super cute crock that I got with my friend Shelly at an antique store. And this is kind of reminiscent of how the cheese used to come back in the old days, right? When we would go to the mall and go to Hickory Farm. So I went ahead, and you don't have to keep it in one of these super cute things, although getting it open can be kind of a pain. There we go. I packed it full, and there we have the cheese. And you'll see it's just like that. See how smooth it is?
Very creamy.
That's why you want to let it go and keep scraping, and you get this fabulous consistency.
Well, and weren't you worried that you'd added too much beer?
I was worried about it, but you know what? Always err on not enough beer. So
because you can always add more.
you can always add more. I ended up having 2/3 of a can of beer left.
Okay.
But see how absolutely smooth that is? There's no, you can't even tell that there was freshly grated cheese in there. And now we will give it over to Daniel to try.
It's so good.
I know, I'm going to have one too, because it is that good. You will never pay $50 or whatever they charge online, $50, $75 for this cheese. Don't get this stuff at the store. This is so good. So, have a great day wherever you're at, night, evening, whatever it is. And I will see you next time.